This is Ravens Flock Talk Podcast, coming to you every week with their thoughts and opinions on each and every Ravens game. Tune in weekly and join the flock.
You are now listening to Ravens Flock Talk. I am your host, Brandon, and joining me alongside is my co-host, my dad. And this is our third season covering the Ravens, doing this podcast. Excited, ready to go. If this is your first time joining us, we appreciate you. And if you don't know, two diehard Ravens fans, and we call it like it is. So if you tune in week by week, we cover every single game, hopefully leading into the playoffs, and the grand hope is the Super Bowl, but we will keep it as real as possible. We do not sugarcoat with our team, and just can't wait to get started. And week one against Houston, I would say it's a sad win, to be honest with you, due to what we all have known to come is with the injuries. But good week for us, nevertheless, when it comes to our division rivals. But what was your synopsis of the week?
I'm going to stay a little bit more positive. Yeah, I mean, it was a good win. It was a little bit ugly win, but we managed it. And yeah, it is sad that J.K. Dobbins and others have been injured. And again, we get bit with the injury bug. You know, not in preseason, but now in regular season.
I mean, could we ease into it a little bit? I mean, the first game, key guys. It's not like guys like Geno Stone or Brandon Stevens. No disrespect to them. It's our key top guys. And, I mean, it goes to question, what is the conditioning? What is it? I don't get it.
The good news is the two injuries that we experienced on the offensive line are short-term, relatively short-term, okay? But the one that really hurts is J.K., because everybody was looking forward to him, Brandon, to come out there. And he was talking all this talk during the preseason, looking like he's
doing he was doing the Zeke eating thing, like he's ready to go. And it's so crazy that when you look back, when he got injured in the preseason game against Washington, and then on Sunday, it's not like it was huge hits or anything. Yeah. It looks like a routine play, and he's done. Yeah. And the sad thing about it is that is going to be his last snap with us. I am almost positive about that. I hear other Ravens fans are saying the same thing. There's no way this guy's going to get a new contract.
I agree, because how can Brashard?
You can't.
Try to get him on the field again.
And what doesn't help him is that it's the most disposable position in the NFL right now. Yeah. I mean, all these running backs wanted Barkley, I'm forgetting his name in for the Colts, but Jonathan Taylor. All these guys, Austin Eckler, they want more money and they're not getting it. Yeah. They're not getting it at all.
Yeah. Speaking of Taylor, we were actually looking to see if we were going to get him, and Harbaugh said on the Ravens site, "No way, we're not going to go out."
It's not a position that is in dire need when you can get some young buck out of college, fresh legs for cheap.
And they're all asking for more money, and this is evidence now that why the owners won't give them more money. It's a very physical position, right? I mean, this is the position you can get hurt the most when you think about it. Yeah. So that's why they're disposable, so to speak.
And, it's interesting what Melvin Gordon, he had offers from, I think, 3 other teams. He declined to stay on our practice squad. Yep. It goes to question, did he, expect an injury? He liked the organization so much, he opted to stay on the practice squad.
Thank God for that, because he did well in the preseason. So, hey.
And listen, I'm just throwing this out there. There's still some free agents because I'm not a big fan of Justice Hill. I know he had 2 touchdowns. It was a 1-yard, 2-yard run, whatever. To me, he's too small for the position. And he also can get injured too. He got injured last year. But 2 names, I'm just saying, Kareem Hunt's a free agent and Leonard Fournette. 2 durable running backs have proven it in their career. Fournette's a big running back. So I don't know.
Say very physical too, because I agree. I have to agree with you with Justice Hill. If he hits the line and somebody grabs him, he's down.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
he's a good, special teams guy.
He's shifty and he's a good special teams. But yeah, I've never been too much of a fan, and just because you have a good preseason against the second and third teams doesn't mean that you're that valuable. But he had a good game. But it was short yardage.
I mean, this is gonna have to be Gus's year. He's gonna have to step up big for us now. And I mean, I'm down because J.K. was hurt, but it's not like it's my quarterback. Or, I mean, if it was like Flowers, I'm going, oh, no, not, or Andrew. I mean, I know he was out for this game, but
what do you feel about Marcus Williams? I mean,
that's the thing.
That hurts. That hurts.
It hurts more, too, that we have to play Cincinnati coming up now. We need, with our secondary, we needed him.
Yeah.
We needed him. I hope Stanley can play, with Cincinnati.
That's another one.
I mean, this is a huge game.
We've talked about Stanley over the years.
This is a huge game.
Stay on the field, and he just can't seem to evade these injuries. Back to Marcus Williams. One thing I read is that Marlon Humphrey might even be back for the Cincinnati game, which is surprising to me because we need him back.
I hope so, because when you're going against Jamar, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, he's wide receiver number 3, and you don't have Marcus Williams or Humphrey, it's like, well, I don't expect much. I don't expect it'll be a miracle if we pull it off. We almost pulled it off last year in the playoffs with Tyler Huntley, but I mean, man,
which is a miracle.
It's like, can we get a healthy squad with our arch rival in division? In the beginning of the year, that's what I like too. When I looked at the schedule,
we have 3 division games.
But what I'm trying to say is, I liked it in the beginning because I'm like, at least we're going to be healthy for these games.
Exactly.
And we got hurt the week 1. It's like, it's demoralizing. But nevertheless, the positive thing that happened this week is Cincinnati got blown out. I did not expect them to lose like that. I expected them to win the game. But hey,
even better, they're talking trash.
I know. Well, Jamar Chase, that team is so cocky. But hey, give credit to Cleveland. They have had Burrow's number when they faced up against them. And I was actually surprised with the Pittsburgh game. I expected a tough, close game, honestly, with the 49ers edging it out. But I mean, both teams got blown out, and we had the easiest team to play week 1, but I'll take it. If we can go and beat Cincinnati and they start 0-2, I mean, wow.
Even Pittsburgh 0-2 going to the next game. So you got to take these wins. And there was a quote by Roquan after the game that said, hey, every win is hard in the NFL. So when you can get a win, I don't care who it is, and that's evidence of what you just said. When you don't want to go 0-2, right?
Yeah.
So you can go 1-1, but 0-2 is like disastrous, especially in your division.
And staying on the defensive side of the ball, you mentioned Roquan. He actually had the most tackles by a Raven week 1, broke a record for Ravens history. Patrick Queen had a big game. Ojabo, it was nice to see him get that strip sack after minimal snaps last year due to injury in college, and it was cool to see Clowney out there. So I mean, defense played well. I think we had some good pressures on C.J. Stroud. There was times where it just seemed like every pass over the middle was going to be a completion wide open, but there were times they were on them.
They tightened up in the second half.
Yeah, there were times they had some close coverage.
Like the critical moments, 3rd and long, they came up big, right?
Yeah.
To kind of save us in those situations, where in the past, 3rd and 20, it was like, oh my, you're just crossing your fingers, right? So, and I can't agree with you more, Brandon. Roquan and Patrick Queen were a beast. And they had, I don't know the stats, but their tackles was incredible.
Yeah, Roquan had a lot. And, Patrick Queen, what I liked most about him throughout his time here is how fast he is for a linebacker. And he wanted a big contract. He didn't get it due to Roquan getting it, is my assumption. And so we're expecting a big year. He wants to get a big payday from some team. I don't know who.
They got him.
So this is his year to ball out.
I agree, and they have them in just the right positions right now, because Roquan makes those big plays and those big sacks, and then that allows Queen to roam around and make his tackles more than disruptive. But I tell you, this Roquan is the real deal, Brandon. He is something else.
Yeah. And, on the offensive side of the ball, finally we can stop talking about Greg Roman. We don't have to mention his name. I think this will be. I'm gonna make a promise to make sure that that's the only time I mention his name all season. But Todd Monken, I wasn't big on the hire. I'm not big on college guys, to be honest with you. I don't really watch college football like that. For those of you that don't know, we don't really follow college football. So I was a bit like, I don't know, but we'll see. But right out of the gate, you saw the change in this offense. It's going to be a pass-heavy offense, and I'm fine with it. I want to limit injuries to the running backs and, most importantly, Lamar. And we have the weapons now to air it out, so why not, And we saw what he wanted to do. I thought, man, they were really feeding Flowers a lot in the beginning.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, wait, don't do it too much. I don't want him to get hurt. Because he's not the biggest guy, but, man, he is electrifying. I mean, every time he gets the ball, you're like, it's almost like when Jackson gets in the open field. You don't know. He might break it all the way.
So for any of the first-time listeners, for us, for 2 years, we've been talking about the offense. And my big thing was with Lamar not throwing to running backs or doing swing passes, short game passes, always looking downfield for the big pass in the long, deep pass.
This was the most screens I've seen.
The screens, the swing passes, trying to get people involved, right? So
yeah, you got to get as you say all the time, you got to get your star players into the game.
Players, right? And OBJ, he had a slow start to the game, but then he picked up, and I tell you what. His intensity was incredible this game. Just his intensity.
I think, after his sideline catch, his first catch as a Raven, and you saw him, like, scream and flex and stuff, I think for him that was more just getting over the hill, coming back. He hasn't played in, 2 years? I think that was just coming out of him. It was cool to see, and it was nice to see him with that over-the-shoulder catch down the field.
Man, it was a beautiful pass, by the way, by Lamar.
Yeah. So, I mean, slow start, but I really didn't want them to feed him too much. Let's gradually get him into it because, Odell, he's got an injury history. I'm expecting him to miss, 4 or 3 games or so. So, but I was fine. I was fine. Bateman got some catches. I would have liked to see Isaiah Likely. I really am big on him. He had to start because Andrews was out. But I think if you include him too, it's like as a defense, as a coordinator and the players on the field.
Totally agree.
I mean, there's so many guys to cover. You can't just zone in on one guy. So why not, implement him more? Maybe he's not getting open. I don't know. But just so many weapons that we haven't seen this probably since our Super Bowl year.
Yeah, let's just, the high energy of the team was really, really good. And I really, OBJ, I got to go back to him. Because he's always said he's loved Baltimore, and even now he said he feels the love in Baltimore, and that's a big time for a veteran to say that, and that impacts rookies coming in, and first through 3 year players. You got to have a veteran like that come in and show them the way, and that's what I like about OBJ. And but Bateman needs to step up. He needs to get open.
He had a couple catches. No one really dominated. I think Flowers had the most targets, most catches. But, Bateman, when his name was called upon, he stepped up. He saved Lamar from a potential pick, throwing it across his body and coming back to the ball. So, I mean, I was fine with it. I like the fact that Lamar was throwing the ball to different targets because we were so used to just Andrews and Hollywood. So it's nice that he has options now.
Aguilar was a little disappointing though because he had no catches, and they claimed he was so great in practice, and they said the same thing about Bateman in his first year. His rookie year, and he didn't do much of anything. But Aguilar, I wanted him to be involved with the offense because they were so high on him. So hopefully he gets into the groove.
I personally don't put too much into training camp or what they say because everything's positive, And Aguilar coming into it, I knew Aguilar was going to be wide receiver number 3 most likely. OBJ, Bateman, and Flowers were going to be the main targets. So he's more of a rotational piece.
Yeah, I just wanted him to be a sleeper.
I mean, yeah,
where
but
he could go downfield and nobody's really paying attention to him and get a long, nice pass,
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a long season, and now Brandon, let's talk about penalties because it's the tale of two halves. But in both halves, we had very critical penalties, especially in the first half.
Yeah, it was not a pretty game for either side. It was a lot of I think both teams racked up over 100 yards of penalties.
Yeah, it was 13 penalties, 106 yards. And Travis Jones, come on, man. Roughing the passer was a critical penalty. He had two critical penalties against him. I think both of them were roughing the passer. Well, no, one was maybe face mask. So, yeah, we got to tighten up. First game, okay, but still, Ravens, it's so funny. To me, they're 50-50 in games. They can either have a huge amount of penalties or they can be somewhat penalty-free.
Yeah.
So, it's discipline. And, you want a seasoned team like this under these coaches to be very disciplined. So, it was really sad to see that so many penalties, even on the first game.
Yeah, I mean, really around the league, man, there was some ugly games, and that's what Week 1 is. Week 1 really is just more of an extension of the preseason, especially when your starters don't play. I mean, Lamar admitted he was rusty. Of course, he didn't play not one preseason snap, and he was shaky, fumbling the ball. Had a turnover on the pick that he threw that really derailed the drive. So, it's going to be some ugly football for a while, but we didn't look as bad as, the Giants or Cincinnati. So, like Roquan Smith said, a win is a win. Not every win is easy, so we'll take it. But
Lamar said he was rusty.
Yeah.
And he hasn't played in over 2 years or more, really 2 years.
Yeah, plus the injury as well. You got to account for that, too, missing the second half of last season.
Some of his balls, I don't know if you noticed, they were really wobbly.
Well, he's never been able to throw
a nice tight spiral.
Yeah, I mean, there are passes where he has some of those, but
you know what I just thought about just now? I didn't really notice him doing his little sidearm passes because they said they've been working on his mechanics. Mm-hmm. And now that I think about it, I don't remember him doing that sidearm stuff he likes to always do, which is very dangerous in the NFL.
One thing, and I might get some flack for this, but he just doesn't know, or maybe doesn't want to know how to slide. All the scrambles that he's diving head first. He's making an extra move to get an extra lousy 2 yards. It's like, you got the big contract, but also Lamar, you got to still prove yourself. Yeah, you won the MVP, but you haven't been as good since. You've been plagued with injuries. People are doubting you. People are really not as afraid of you since that MVP season. Let's stay healthy and let's prove them wrong with a long season. I still was very disappointed when I saw him running. And I mean, great. I love a first down. I love extra yards. It's great that we have a guy that can move like that. That's not a Kirk Cousins where you're like, oh, it's going to be a sack. But it's like, let's be like Russell Wilson and slide, Forget about the extra 2 lousy yards trying to make every guy miss.
Yeah, and most of all your good point, because
all it takes is one of them big boys to fall on you.
All your premier, highly paid quarterbacks slide. And slide early, too. Right?
Yeah.
So
there's always the next play,
He always thinks he can get that extra, and sometimes he can, but are you going to play that 50-50 chance with a franchise quarterback that is so valuable to the team? You should not do that,
and you can tell he wants to go all the way because even after he gets a first down, he slams the ball on the field because he's upset. He's like, dang, I could have made that guy miss. You got the next play, man.
Ironically,
let's just stay healthy.
The way, just your point is interesting because all the critics say he's a runner and not a passer. And when he does that, it makes them say those kind of things because he loves to run.
And what other Ravens fans would tell you, Ravens fans that want to prove you wrong a bit, well, the times he got injured, he was actually running away. He was in the backfield, trying to evade a sack. Okay, I get it, but let's not act like he can't get hurt scrambling down the field either.
Good point.
And on to that, the offensive line did not look good. This Texans defense looked really good. I didn't know what to expect. I don't know any of the names. I'm not going to front and be like, oh, yeah, they have this person, this person. I have no idea. But the offensive line looked shaky. I mean, there was times where Lamar was just running for his life.
Now, if you think it's shaky now, what do you think is going to happen with the Cincy game? Because now you got two of your premier offensive linemen.
I know.
So this is kind of scary going into this,
This game. And the fact that it's an away game.
So, I always have to mention this, Brandon, is the kicker and the punter.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell
your
you
favorite
what,
positions.
I tell you what, though, Jordan Stout, he's the real deal punting. I looked at some stats with him, and he had 5 punts for 50 yards, average 50 yards, and 3 were inside the 20-yard line. So people don't underestimate the value of a punter for field position. And then, of course, Justin, hey, you got the best kicker.
I think he only had one attempt, though.
So he had
one or two.
Two.
But they weren't too long.
It's so nice to sit back and watch a kicker on a field goal less than 50 yards and just say it's basically automatic. I mean, we got field goal kickers that are missing extra points. So
yeah, let's also make that the last comment for the season too. I mean, people know he's great. He's the best kicker of all time.
You know what? When we win by 3 points, you come talk to me again about the game, okay?
Well, if he gets a game-winning kick,
and what's my strategy? If the Ravens could get inside the 50-yard line to the 40-yard line, it's almost an automatic score with a kicker like that. And that's my whole thing. If you could just get to the 40-yard line, which is pretty feasible, you have an automatic score. Yep. Basically. And not many teams can say that. I'd say 25% of the teams can say they have kickers that can do that.
Yeah.
And we do. So that's why I keep bringing it up, because points are points, man. And these games are going to always be close with these premier teams, especially in the division.
So outside of that, I mean, I think that's really we covered everything for this game. It wasn't super exciting. It's a week 1 game. But going into Cincinnati, listen, they are going to be pissed off. They are going to probably not be as confident and cocky. They're going to mean business after that embarrassment. Joe Burrow signs the biggest contract ever, and he throws under 100 yards. So they are going to be thirsty.
Listen, they can't go 0-2 in the division.
I know. This is a must-win game.
This is a must-win for and then I don't want us to be...
With every NFL team, the first 4 weeks can do, it's either you're going to make the playoffs or be in the hunt, or you're completely done. You start 0-4, forget about it. It's over, So this is a must-win game for them.
And we got to have that intensity.
We got to be ready.
We got to think that this is, like a playoff game.
It's
time. Treat it like a playoff game.
It's time for revenge from the playoffs. And it's time. Who's going to step up and stop Chase? How many times is he going to embarrass us? He's had our number day in and day out. He probably thinks of us like he thinks of Cleveland. Whatever. Who are they? So it's time to step up. And can we handle it? Are we going to come out, flat?
And our secondary is very questionable. So that's what's so.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned that.
Much less Cincy. When you got a Jamar Chase. And our secondary that plays off you 5 to 7 yards every play.
That's why I mentioned that.
He's laughing.
But the thing is you watch that Cleveland, and I think honestly, Cleveland arguably could have the best defense in our division because their front line is lethal.
Yeah.
And you watch that game, you got to make Burrow uncomfortable. He's not a running quarterback. He can scramble out of the pocket and whatnot, but you got to put pressure on him. If you have him sitting back there, he's got Chase and Higgins and all these targets, he's going to eat you alive. And see, we don't have that type of pass rush that Cleveland has.
I didn't see the whole game, but I saw the highlights, and I thought I saw most of his sacks were on the inside, right? Rushing in the inside, inside the pocket, I'll say, right? It wasn't on the outside, him scrambling. It was... So if we, you crunch him up into the pocket. He loves to step up into the pocket. So if you eliminate that, then he has to scramble. I don't think he's as effective scrambling. Yeah. So, no quarterback is actually. So, you got to put that pressure.
Yeah, I mean,
inside.
we've seen it with Mahomes. You got to make them uncomfortable in the pocket and think twice and look over their shoulder. That's the way to beat these guys. And
take your chances of them scrambling. Now, Mahomes is one of the best scrambling quarterbacks, I'll say, in terms of throwing accurately. But that's an anomaly. Right?
Yeah.
But still, you got to get them out of the pocket, uncomfortable, and Look at the Giants, man. That Giants game that was crazy.
It was unwatchable.
It was uncomfortable from day one.
It was unwatchable. But yeah, I mean, I think that's all there is to say about Week 1. Like I said in the beginning, very excited for this season. I know we don't cover off season. We don't do drafts, free agency. Our podcast is strictly during the regular season and hopefully playoffs. So, I mean, all the hype, the Lamar contract talks, the OBJ, Flowers, it looks promising, and we're finally here. Football is back to take over. Outside of our game, I'll tell you what, that Monday night game with Cleveland and Pittsburgh is going to be good too. I mean, that's the exciting thing I always say every year. I love our division. I hate the other teams so much, but at the same time, I love the fact that you never know who's going to come out on top year in, year out because it's so competitive. And I believe it makes the teams better down the line because if you have a cookie cutter season, you're never tested.
Say we have the toughest division in the league, and like Brandon is saying, you got to prove yourself, right? And
you can't take any team in this division lightly.
Yeah.
Cleveland's got Deshaun Watson. Kenny Pickett, who knows? I mean, I know he had a bad game, but he has potential. He's got promise. So,
I mean, it's crazy in our division. We got 4 top quarterbacks in the division. So, so it's
three. Kenny still has to prove himself, but
well, it's exciting though. For newcomers to our podcast, we changed our format from doing a lot of statistics per Brandon running the show. We just wanted to have fun. We wanted to just do overviews of the game and
just speak.
Hope you enjoy it.
Speak from the heart, basically. And if you have any comments, anything you guys want to bring up, we always respond to comments on YouTube. We love the engagement. So feel free to do that. We also have the email in our About section as well. So if you prefer email, that's fine. But typically people comment and we will respond to it, and we will also mention it in the next episode as well. So stay tuned for that if you want to leave your remarks. And we love to interact and bring it up. So I'm always interested to see what other Ravens fans are saying. And we always try to bring that into our podcast. So tune in. Next Sunday, going to be a big game. I mean, this is the game. This is a huge game. So it would be great to start out 2-0 and make the Bengals, eat their words. It's going to be great. So hopefully we come out on top, and please tune in.